Hi Danielle, Stephen here from NYU Libraries. Good speaking with you this morning. As promised, here's a video walking you through how to develop a survey in Qualtrics. So I'm going to go to NYU Home. I should be already logged in. And I'm going to search under NYU Services for Qualtrics. And it should automatically start to know what I'm looking for. It takes us to NYU Survey Service. And I'll click on Go. And rather than use a copy of a project, and remember we can do that by clicking on the ellipses over here and selecting copy project, I'm going to do it start from scratch and click on create new project. And I'm going to create my own survey. And I'll give it the name minor donations and click get started. Now, by default, it's going to start with the first question as a multiple choice question. This is where we'd put that consent question that you would develop with IRB. Remember that you'd want to use the rich content editor because whatever text that you've gotten from the IRB or working with your team in the IRB, you want to make sure that the formatting is kept intact, or you may want to make some customization. So if you click on Rich Content Editor, you'll be able to make those sorts of those changes there, like bold or font size, font type, things like that. So I'm going to say, just keep it simple and say this is a consent form. Do you agree? And I just click off the box and now I have my consent form. Now over here on the right, we can see that the question type is a multiple choice question, which is what we want. The number of choices we have are set to 3. We're going to change that to 2. And we're just going to write in the choices. So we want to say yes or no. And you can see it actually tried to predict what we wanted. So it actually went yes, maybe no. I'm going to remove the second no. So now we just have our 2 choices. I'm going to scroll down a bit here on the right because I want to make sure that the validation options, that the force response is checked. This way, if the person can't go beyond the survey without consenting to our consent form or our agreement, you definitely want to have something like that set up. We're also going to add some skip logic in case someone chooses no or chooses yes or no on some of the other questions that we talked about, but we'll apply that after we've created the questions. So now we're going to create the next question. So to create a new question, we'll just click on the button, create new question, and we'll get started. And I'm just going to create the questions right away. So I'm going to create the next question. And that's that. Now remember, since we create all of these questions in order, they're labeled in order. The questions are in order. But we're going to change that because we have some skip logic that we want to add. But before we do that, first and foremost, we want to set everything up so that it'll display the way we'd like it to in the survey. So we start with a consent form. We make sure that box is checked. And I'm going to add a page break because after the person either consents or doesn't consent, we don't want them to see the next question right away. So we're going to add a page break there. And now we're going to go with the next question. So here it's labeled question 2. We're going to change that, make sure that's labeled properly. And we're going to make sure that we have it set up as a yes or no question. There's our maybe again, so we'll remove the maybe. Now we have our yes, no. And our next question, question 3. Have you ever utilized a minor patient as a living kidney donor? We have 5 options. We don't want all of that. We're just going to move that to 2. And now we see it's automatically changing it to yes, no, which is great. And this is where we're going to add some skip logic. But let's finish up all the answer choices for the rest of these questions. So with this question, with question 3, have you utilized a minor patient as a living kidney donor? If they chose no, we have our new base of questions here. So we're going to rename Q5 to Q3N for no. And we're going to give it a yes, no, but first we'll change the choices over here on the right from 3 to 2. And there's our yes. Oh, there's our maybe again. We'll remove the maybe. And if they chose yes, the next question was under what circumstances would they consider a minor to be a potential donor. Now, this is not a multiple choice question, you recall. So over here, we're going to scroll up and change it from multiple choice to a text entry. And remember that we can set the text type to change from single line to multi-line, which is what we want. We want to give the users, the participants, enough space to kind of give us their response. So that looks pretty good. And also remember, we can preview the survey by clicking on preview over here at the top. But before we do that, we're going to continue labeling our question. So this is Q3, if it was a no to a yes. And then our next question, which would technically be questions 4 instead of question 7. This is also a yes/no question. And then the last question, question 5, not question 8. The answer to this could be a open text entry, but we can set it up as a form. And we'll do that instead of 7 fields, which is a lot. We'll set it to 2 fields. Instead of extremely comfortable, we'll set up email. We'll say phone, optional. And then we can just make this a little bit longer just by dragging it and giving the participant more space to enter their email or phone number. If we click here to edit, we can make this a little bit longer. And now we have everything that we need for the questions. Then it's a matter of adding a few changes to make it all presentable. So one thing that we'll want to do is scroll back up to the top and start adding that skip logic. So if question 2 is answered yes, no, we leave that alone. If question 3 is answered yes or no, we're going to need to add some skip logic. So I'm going to check in the box corresponding to question 3. I'm going to scroll down a bit and select skip logic here on the right. And now we're going to set the conditions. So if a user selects yes, they're going to skip Q3N and Q3NY, and they're going to go straight to Q4. And we'll add another skip logic for if the user selects no. If the user selects no, they're going to go straight to Q3N. We'll click done. And now we'll add some script logic here as well. So again, we want to have Q3N, this box checked, and we're going to scroll down here on the right to add some skip logic. So in this case, if they chose yes, we want to send them to Q3NY. We'll add some more skip logic, because if they chose no, we want to take them past Q3NY and straight to Q4. So now that's set up. Q3NY is fine on its own. Q34 is fine on its own. Q35 is fine on its own. Now we can go back up to our consent form and add some logic there as well. So we have the box checked. We want to add some skip logic, because if they chose no, we want to take them to the end of the survey. We'll just click done, and now that's that. We don't need skip logic for if they chose yes, because so they'll just go right into Q2. The other thing we can do is add some page breaks again. So I'm going to click on Q3, scroll back up, add a page break, and I see that here at the bottom. We'll add a page break here as well for Q3N. Also for Q3NY. And why don't we add one for Q4 as well. Now we can preview this and see what it looks like. Again, we can see the version on the web on the left and on a mobile device on the right. I'm going to click no, I don't consent, and that should take me right to the end of the survey. And it did, that's good. I'm going to restart the survey and follow along. So I'm going to say yes, I consent. I'm going to say no to see if the logic works. And I'm going to select yes, because if so, it will ask me to fill out the form or fill out the answer. And I'll click the next. And now it asks me these questions. And now I can enter my email or my phone number. And now I'm done. And it looks like it was able to record my response, and I've finished my survey. So I'm going to close that. Happy with it. When I'm done, I can click publish over here at the top, and now my survey is live. Remember, if you scroll all the way up the top over here under survey options, you can set how long the survey is going to be open. Over here under survey expiration, so you can set the time when it's going to go live to when it's going to be unavailable. And you can create a custom link message if someone tried to attempt to complete the survey the day after the survey closed. So we'll click close here. And if we wanted to distribute the survey, so to distribute the survey, we'll click distributions. And from here, we can get a reusable link, which you can then copy and paste into the email that you're going to send out to the listserv. So that's how all that works. Now, once you have the results, remember, we can go to data and analysis. And because the survey isn't live, we don't really have anything to export, but this is where you'd export the results. Click on this drop-down menu and be able to export the data as a CSV file, which you can open in Excel. So that's basically it, but let me know if you have any questions, and stay tuned for the next video.